Alpha's pretty cool, guys. But this is a good budget build. If those of you that are looking to build Alphons, make sure you take this picture from Google and then paste it on his head, and your Alphons levels up twofold. It's Alf, man! It's so good. Your chill speed about to enter the meta. You should definitely consider that slower units are very important now to build up and build up properly. Alright, I'm gonna actually start with Henry this time. If you're gonna build Henry, this is probably a good way to do it. I think it's definitely one of his best builds. The problem with the build though is Ignis. You don't want to use Ignis, you actually want to use Bonfire instead. There are some exceptions to this though. The exceptions are if you're running him with Infantry Pulse, all you need is one Infantry Pulse on the team, or if you have Quick Impulse. So there's two ways to make this work. You need a unit with over 45 HP with Infantry Pulse, or Quick Impulse Seal, and keep Ignis. And this makes his nuke huge. Huge. Okay? And because the unit attacks you, you attack back for ting, for literally 0 damage, and then the unit attacks you again, builds up your charge ready, and now because of Quick Riposte, your Ignis should do immense damage. I think actually keeping Distant Defense 3 is the ideal choice here to increase Ignis damage, and you ideally want someone on team with Infantry Pulse, and your Ignis damage is going to be huge. It's not so consistent though, because after that one time that you've got the special reduction, your follow-ups then aren't going to be able to do this sort of damage. You know, you'll end up back at 4 charge on Ignis, so I don't like that so much. But yeah, if you have Infantry Pulse on team, you can go for that super big nuke. Otherwise, you're probably just better off using Bonfire for more consistent special damage every single engagement. Threat and Attack is interesting. I honestly think you might want to use like Threat and Res instead to help his damage. But yeah, if you're gonna build Henry, this is one way to do it. He's also a pretty good user of Infantry Pulse himself, all things considered, 45 HP. Good job, Emil. So if merges brought you over 25 speed, I'm fine with that. This is our plus defense, defense refined, steady breath, close defense, Noe. One thing to consider why this build is actually super important now with the meta is because this variant of Noe does survive against Alm with Falchion. So because you run close defense, your defense refined, and you run steady breath, she will actually survive Alm, which is really important. Because if you don't run this set, then she dies to Alm, and that's what's funny. Now what's also kind of interesting is Alm's speed doesn't actually reach high enough to quad because he has 30 base speed. So all things considered, if you have, let's say, ally support or like a drive speed on the team or just any sort of buff, if Alm is running the Windsweep set, then he doesn't quad. If you have one buff and he's running the other set, which might be like Cancel Affinity, I guess, or Renewal maybe. If he's running the other set where he could quad, as long as you have at least one buff, it's not so bad. You probably won't get doubled because his speed is not that good. But if he is plus speed, then he's probably running the Windsweep set anyways, so overall it's really powerful. Now if he does get buffs, then yeah, you got Panic Ploy. Really smart usage here. Besides the Alm matchup though, the reason you want a minus speed Noe is because you trigger Aether by getting doubled, right? If you are not minus speed and you don't get doubled, then you don't charge Aether, right? You get hit, it goes down from 6 to 4, you hit back, and it's down to 2. Now if the enemy unit doesn't double you, all you do is charge Aether, and that's not good enough to secure some kills. So being doubled is actually really important on a Noe, and that's why minus speed is actually really good, IV on her, so that you can charge Aether and blow stuff up. Thanks, Tired Thunder. I think we can actually compare that exact same build with an Adult Tiki. So Pigawatts Adult Tiki. Yep. Actually, it's a little different. Instead of using Aether, we got Ignis. Getting doubled does proc Ignis, and if you don't get doubled, then you... I forgot Lightning Breath adds a special charge. But yeah, you do get doubled, and you do proc Ignis, which is more damage than Aether. Whereas Refine feels like an odd choice. Defense Refinement here gives you more damage, for sure. But in general, Ignis already does huge damage on Adult Tiki. In this case, it does about 31, I think, bonus damage, or 32. And along with her breath having adaptive damage on range units, you're almost guaranteed to kill everything. Attack Smoke is also really cool here, because you're reducing the damage that all other enemies do to you. She also wants to be the receiver of this seal, so I'm guessing this is placeholder. Surviving Brave Bow. Yeah, personally, I would make sure that her niche as a defense unit is definitely there. I definitely recommend that you probably should just change the refinement to defense. I'm not saying it can't work. It kind of depends on your team comp, honestly. Like, if you don't have good mage checks, specifically like a good green mage check, then you have to use Adeltiki to do that, and that's where the res refinement could be important in some matchups. So again, it kind of depends on the team comp. All things considered, maybe you have like Nino as like the green or something, and the enemy has like a green tone breaker where your Nino can't secure that kill. That's where a res refinement Adeltiki would be fine. So it kind of depends. All things considered though, it's a decent build, and defense refinement would probably work better depending on your team comp, and her seal should be something like close defense or distant defense. I think distant defense works a little bit better considering you have res refinement. Thanks, Bigawatt. Yeah, seal should be close defense. Yeah, you basically already said it. So keeping the defense high is pretty important for just for increasing your damage. But again, it kind of depends what her role on the team is. So just like how I mentioned, going for equal defensive stats is useful if you want to broaden her role on your team. But if your team is already covering a lot of weaknesses that involve them, like if you can cover mages well without using Adeltiki, then just going all in on defense is a good idea. Exactly 25 speed. I noticed your build is pretty budget. Deathblow's on his default kit. Draconic Aura is a decent choice. I think it does 1 or 2 more damage than Bonfire does on him. Bonfire does 16, but with Deathblow, I think it's about 17 with Draconic Aura. This is assuming that you do use Deathblow on the player phase. But even so, you have Swordbreaker, so player phase Deathblow is fine. It's also good on enemy phase, and I prefer to probably use it on enemy phase because you want to keep formation. Spur Attack is on his default kit. On a seal, honestly, you probably want to use something just like another Spur Attack seal or just something to support your team, because without merges, like, he falls behind a lot of units in the arena meta, so anything that gives him support to his team is the way to go. The Alpha's pretty cool, guys. But this is a good budget build. Thanks, Zard. I actually haven't seen an Arden. Nice merge too. Yeah, it's, I mean, +1 merge. I gotta respect you for not foddering him off for drive defense at least. He's one of the best users of Panic Ploy in the game because he has, I think, the highest HP in the game. Pretty sure he still has that. Still has the highest HP in the game. Ward armor is good. He wants to be on a armor team. An additional seal that I think actually helped him a lot is the new armor boots seal. He's a player phase armor, and he definitely wants to get in the right positions to make the right plays. So if you want to consider a really good seal on him, I definitely recommend armor boots. He's a good user of Panic Ploy, but armor boots, I've seen it wreck face. And he doesn't necessarily need to be on an armor team if you end up using the armored seal boots. So definitely consider trying that. I think it's amazing. Ward armor, that's pretty staple on most armor emblem teams. You could run Panic Ploy on a different armor as well. It doesn't necessarily have to be on him. Even though he's the best user of it, I think armor boot's really cool. Sturdy Blow is actually pretty smart on the A slot. I think I recommended this a while back when the Ardent Tempest trials happened. I was like, yeah, Sturdy Blow is good because it gives you both attack and defense the defense scales off of Ignis damage. And of course, Brave Sword is on his default kit. So overall, like a really staple build with armor boots being my only recommendation. Try it out. Thanks, Jackie. Oh, you're like, okay, first thing I see right away is you're preemptively setting up for the defense bonus you'll get through the Fire Blessing. So I think that's actually pretty smart. Especially if you plan to use them in the new like Blessings mode and you might have to bring in the Fire Blessings hero. So this is actually pretty cool. Good foresight if that was actually your intention. But overall, this is like a pretty stable build other than First Bite, which actually ends up hurting you here because normally you'd run like Slaying Lance, which I'm sure you probably have. Yeah, you have Slaying Lance. But yeah, Fire is going to be defense. And the Legendary Banner for Fire is coming up. So that's some good foresight to be using Fire Blessing to give him that extra defense. But yeah, Ignis is better with Slaying Lance, with Quick Riposte to secure those kills. But if you're actually not using Slaying Lance, Ignis could give you some trouble here. Quick Impulse is what you need if you want to secure the Ignis kills with First Bite. But if you actually intend to use First Bite, then you want to use Bonfire with Quick Riposte. That way you secure your kills that way. And First Bite could work if you want to like support your team. If you're running like a mostly enemy phase team and you just want to kind of buff them all up. Maybe even, for example, you have like a Blade Mage that could use the defense and resistance nearby. Like that's a pretty good way of using it. So I'm not totally against First Bite, but if you're going to use it, you probably want to use Bonfire instead of Ignis, or you just put in a Quick Impulse Seal and you'll get that first in Ignis. Slaying Lance with Ignis is fine, but this is a pretty standard build. Now, if you do intend to play with Omega Merrick, then obviously you put in Threat and Res. But yeah, take that as a good example of what to do with Lucas. Thanks, Murdy. I actually want to see some Lilinas. Kept the Baloney Tome. Okay, but yeah, it's a similar kind of build with Attack Boy being on C, and Attack Boy's okay. I mean, she has the res to make it work against a lot of the low res units. It's not the worst choice. Draconic Aura is fine. It does give her decent attack. I wanted to mention this before, but Swordbreaker doesn't really work in arenas. So if this Lilina is used for like Tempest Trials, auto farming, or something like that, Swordbreaker's fine, like chain challenges or Grand Hero battles, where sword units normally don't have this encounter, then Swordbreaker's fine for that. In fact, you don't even really need to change War Raven to Baloney Tome. But yeah, the combination of Swordbreaker with like these low physical bulk red mages, I've seen this a lot. A lot of people like to put like Snaki and Lilina with Swordbreaker, but they don't realize that if you use it in arena that way, they don't have the physical bulk to take a hit for the double to matter. Like Ryoma has like over 54 attack, Legendary Ike now officially has over 54 attack, and regular Ike had over 54 attack in most cases. I'm talking with a couple merges, right? So your Swordbreaker does nothing when your unit dies in one hit. Which is why in arenas you'd normally want to use Bowbreaker if you run Aurora Raven in this case, to counter like Lyn or other archers. Or you run Axebreaker because you can miss some kills on especially some axe units that use distant defense. So like Amelia, Hector, they all have high HP, even though they have like low res, especially something like Sheena too, who has high res and high HP. Axebreaker helps these red mages secure those kills, and that's what I usually recommend, because then they do have like Lilina and Snaki would have enough bulk to take a retaliation hit from the green armor distant counter users. That's what Attack Boy is for. Yeah, I mean, okay, they're still gonna have high attack, all of them. It's too inconsistent. It's too inconsistent to consider that you could ploy all these sword unit users and expect them to drop under 54 attack. I mean, what you would have to do is set up like a ploy, maybe get like a fortified defense on Lilina. That's just not consistent. It's just not. You're better off just using your blue unit to counter the sword units. Otter Squad says Wind Sweep, Phantom Speed, Lilina. Too slow. With Phantom Speed and Wind Sweep, you're only at 32 speed. I guess if you had a plus speed one, she reaches 29 speed. With Wind Sweep, it'd be 39. Maybe if you used a Hone Speed, you'd be up to like 43 speed. That seems a little bit more reasonable and probably doable. Anyways, it's a good build, but Roar Raven is definitely my recommendation with this set. Axebreaker instead of Swordbreaker. And your seal could just be something like extra attack for better scaling with TA. Or you could even use like an HP seal for her to have more bulk in handling distant counter users better. I'm surprised you're not using his new legendary weapon that got upgraded. It'd be really good with this encounter. But I understand that there's a lot of armors now in the meta, so Armor Smasher makes sense. What I don't understand is why you're running Armor Smasher with the like nullifying bonus buff. I don't understand that. You don't run into Hone armors and Fortify armors that commonly. So I do recommend changing this. Maybe just use X-Axe. But if you really wanted to if you just wanted him to beat up other armors, then I guess you could use like Armor Smasher refined with like attack if you want to scale with Glimmer. I guess that's what you're aiming for. If you're going to keep Glimmer, I think attack refinement actually would be pretty interesting here. Plus it scales well with Armor Smasher. I like the choice in Quick Impulse Glimmer, that's smart. Gives you the one turn Glimmer. She's primarily a enemy phase unit, so just in case you guys don't know, the difference between Ice, Glacies and Ignis here is the same, even though there's a defense refinement. Since the game rounds down, the bonus damage is exactly the same. Glacies is smart here over the default kit, which is Iceberg, because she always gets doubled. 14 speed is hilarious, but I mean, it's good. She actually wants to get doubled to charge Glacies. And then since she has insane defensive stats, like you probably don't die, and you hit back for Glacies for really crazy high damage. And yeah, like I was saying, like you don't really see Hone and Fortify too much because Ward is, it's just easier to use and it has less weaknesses on armor teams when they're all grouped up, which happens because of Armor March and just the way it works. You're going to see ward armors all over the place, and it's what I recommend too. But overall, this is like the staple Winter Tharja build. Thanks for sending me the staple unit though. Yeah, see, I like looking at these units. You see a lot of stuff that's really niche, but really, really cool. Yeah, TA3, Quick Riposte, Naglfar. It's kind of like the same as Lilina, but he has more defense and more HP with less speed and less attack. I think that was the difference here. Which means that he's going to take hits better than Lina would, but unfortunately he won't secure as many kills as Lina would. And Lina could probably player phase while Leon can't do it as well. Iceberg is smart. Again, you want to make sure you use 3 charge specials with slow units, unless they have a cooldown reduction weapon. If they have a cooldown reduction weapon that brings your charge down to 3 from 4, then that's the way to go. 3 charge special with Quick Riposte, you bait out a unit, you charge up Iceberg, and you hit for decent damage with 15 bonus damage in this case because of res. Attack Smoke is fine. Again, you're just gonna probably, lessen the threat of other units that approach. Personally, I'd probably just recommend using like Distant Defense in the seal slot if you have it, or you could run something like Attack Seal just to increase your damage slightly more. Scale better with TA as well. Let's give some melee units a chance. Base Kit Dorcas. I predict Dorcas being on a legendary banner soon. Could be the next one, the one that's coming up, or the one after. Yeah, his base kit works. It's not really much to say about it. Just give him like reposition or swap in the assist, and you're good to go. Distant Defense is good for him. The difference between him and like Hector is that he has resistance, unlike Hector, and if you give him like Distant Defense, it works really well to make sure that his bulk is really good. He comes with Infantry Pulse, but he's a good user of it. And Draconic Aura works really well on him as well because of Fierce Stance, which you always want to bait with him, enemy phase. You'll notice with slow units, you almost always want to enemy phase units. You always want to enemy phase units. So the staple build on Dorcas, I never really recommend changing it. It works really well. You could probably change like Infantry Pulse or something if you didn't have like an infantry team and he was just kind of like in a mixed team or something. But yeah, just give him like reposition or swap and you're basically good to go with base kit Dorcas. Thanks, Zargus. Hey, that's a pretty good Sheena build. I mean, I'm sad you don't have guard 3. Also, what the? Oh yeah, you have got gold armor from Hector. Makes sense. That was from a regular one. Anyways, yeah, this Sheena build's awesome. So you're building up the res. It's really high amounts. Unfortunately, you don't have guard 3, so at some point you probably want to upgrade it to that. But it's really good otherwise because you're denying a lot of specials from being triggered here. Most notably would be the fact that she could probably take hits from reds and survive, which is interesting. So because you run guard, you could probably take hits from Ira, and if she doesn't proc Regnal Astra, you're in a good spot, like she could survive Ira because of guard. One thing though is because you're running Slaying Axe, I actually recommend using Glacies here instead of Quick Riposte, and it's going to do far more damage. Glacies adds 32 bonus damage here, and that's going to secure way more kills. So like I mentioned, from most of the time, if you have a weapon that reduces the special count, make sure that whatever your special count is with Quick Riposte, it ends up being 3. Very important to get those kills. Thanks for sending in the Sheena. Wow, what a pretty tanky man. Didn't you kill him for steady stance? What happened to that? You ended up just giving him close defense 3 and killing a BK for nothing? Personally, I think close defense is better to take care of dragons as well, because he has great mixed bulk. I just find it funny. You killed steady stance. Disgusting, man. You $4 whaled for him to die. Also, what? Wouldn't attack defense be better here? Yeah, but I think it's a great build otherwise, all things considered. You use Dazzling instead of Wrathful, which is smart. Reduce enemies' attack even further. Make him do like no damage to you. He has great health for Infantry Pulse. He has great mixed bulk for double close defense. Works on dragons and on melee units. His actual defense is still pretty good, all things considered, against other units. He doesn't charge enemy specials, which is kind of like a big problem for units that are slow and just meat shields. So this would work pretty well with other units. I think it's actually pretty funny. Well done, Hinata. I mean, Evenness. I mean, if you're not running Quick Impulse, you shouldn't be running Moonball, right? You probably have Luna. Orders? Orders? Classic build, though. Classic build. He's prepping for Takumi. Yeah, he's prepping for the harsh command meta because chill speed is going to take over. Except he's not going to be the one affected by it. So obviously he's the best user of harsh command. But yeah, this is how you build your classic Reinhardt. Literally took it off Game Press. Welcome to Game Press. I mean, this is basically an arena points build. Because you're running everything that's max points, including sacrifice. Sacrifice and quick repose don't work too well here. But unfortunately, it's the sacrifices you must make. So your seal is going to want to be something like distant defense. Or close defense. If you're going to use close counter, close defense wouldn't be bad either, honestly. One of the two defenses are ideal for her. The build is fine for what it needs to do. Earth Blessing is actually her best blessing choice to scale better with Dani. Nani or Thani? Nani or Thani? Nani, guys? Nani? Okay, Nani. Hey, it's waifu. Wendy waifu. CF Gear says, do you think the new Brazen skill would work for Azama? Actually, yes. Yes, it would. Oh, a little bit of a mishap here, though. If you're going to run Slaying Lance, again, you do want to go from 4 charge special to 3 charge special. And, oh, wait, you're even running Steady Breath. Wait, what? I mean, you're going to want to run Ignis, or maybe even Aether. Aether would be okay here, too. Ignis is going to do more damage, but Aether is pretty smart. Too. Yeah, I see that. Steady Bonfire. I guess you get 2 bonfires. Yeah, that is more damage than Nick. Yeah, I see. Sorry, I missed the Steady Breath. I thought this was distant counter for some reason. I'm just used to using my Wendy so much that I forget that Steady Breath works like this. So actually Bonfire is actually the better choice here. But Aether is good for arena points. And overall sustainability if you're going to use her in like other content that isn't arenas. But this is sick. This is a very good build. 50 defense, 54 defense, up to 56 defense. Bonfire does like 28 damage, true damage, 56 because it's twice. Yeah, that's disgusting. I think maybe if you want to like make her invincible against like all melee units, you could probably run guard and quick repose 3, and that's even better. Yeah, that's disgusting. Cool build though, Cat. Thanks.